Welcome to the show where strange takes flight, where the shadows meet the curious light. We're diving deep where the wild things stay, in a world beyond your everyday. Oh my, we're gonna blow your mind, peeling back the layers of space and time. From hollow worlds to things unseen, we're talking about things that live in between.
I think you're crazy, just like me. Yeah, you must be crazy to come back here, baby. Here is another episode of Mind Dump with me, Jordy. Thanks for coming back. Like I said, you might be crazy, but shit, I appreciate the listen. I appreciate the watch. Day is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to everybody, including myself. For all the real fathers out there, go ahead and spend some time with your children. You don't need no alone time. All you need to do is spend some time with your children. But other than that, today's episode, we're going to keep it short, hopefully. I have a special guest coming in on the last half of this, but we're going to start off with let's talk about some surveillance. Now, if you follow my TikTok, my TikTok handle is jordy.jets, I believe. I think that's it. jordy.jets. Go ahead, follow me on TikTok. My last video was doing some good numbers. It's all about the Matrix and the Oracle and how she uses birds for surveillance. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm gonna actually play it on here. Give me 1 second and I'll share the screen. Talk about the Matrix. I'm sure most of you've seen the Matrix by now, but in the Matrix, there's a character, a program called the Oracle. Now, the Oracle, most would classify her as a psychic, a precog. But is she a psychic? Nah, she's not a psychic. She just has tricks up her sleeves. Now, let's talk about websites. Every time you go to a website, what does it ask you to do? What does every website ask you to accept? It asks you to accept their cookies. And what are cookies? What are the purpose of a cookie? Well, a cookie allows a website to remember your preferences, all right? Between visits, it remembers what you've done, where you've been, and it makes it easier to use the site and personalize your experience. Now let's get back to the Oracle. Now, every time Neo or anybody goes to the Oracle, what does she offer you? She offers you cookies. So she's not psychic. She's just downloading information about where you've been, who you've talked to, all your experiences up until that point that she offers you that cookie. Basically an update on your experience inside the Matrix, inside the simulation. Now, I'm sure most of you already know that. That's something that should have been known by now. But what I noticed in I think it was the second movie, Neo approaches the Oracle and she's on a park bench. Now, the Oracle is a program, so her code only allows her to do certain things. The Oracle's purpose in the Matrix is to study the humans inside the simulation, all right? Now, you would think that every human would have to go to the Oracle. Nah. So on that park bench, what is she doing? She's feeding birds, right? But what is she feeding the birds? Like I said, she's a program. Her code only allows her to do certain things. And one of them is make cookies. It's only a smart assumption that she's feeding the birds crumpled up cookies. Now, every time the birds eat those cookies, what is she doing? She's downloading information. Everywhere those birds go, everything that the birds listen to, the birds are basically a surveillance system for the humans inside the simulation. So every time those birds eat a cookie, guess what? The Oracle then downloads all that information going on throughout the whole simulation, throughout the whole Matrix. The birds are a surveillance system. I'm not sure if anybody noticed that. I just thought that was cool to bring up. Yeah, I bet most of y'all didn't know that. I bet none of y'all knew that. I'm sure most of y'all knew about the cookies and the Oracle and how she was downloading information. But the way that she was feeding the birds, she's a program. Like she has no other reason to do what she does. So everything that she does has a reason. She walked outside of her apartment to sit down on a bench and just randomly feed birds. Nah, those birds are her surveillance system. And that kind of like makes you wonder about all these people who say, birds ain't real. They're all like robots. Well, some people say Some of them are robots. Some of them are real. But okay, I believe birds are real. I'm not part of the community. I was for like a few days. They had me for a few days, but nah, not enough evidence. But I feel like there's a possibility for how you would say biological robots. And what I mean by biological robots is robots that have a full functioning system, like a biological creature, human. Let's say they create a human that's shit. I mean, we might be robots. I mean, it could have what you call it, like. Actually, there's a website called Clone, okay? And they have robots that have a whole circulatory system, vascular system. I'm going to bring that up literally right now. Let me share the screen. All right, check this out. So this is the Clone website. And as you can see, it says androids have arrived. Reserve one of the first 279 clones ever made in its alpha edition. So you see the clone here basically being a maid. Now, these are just animations. I haven't seen it in action, but here's what I was talking about. So these androids, robots, are going to have a full muscular system, a skeletal system, a nervous system, and a vascular system. See what I'm saying? Like, they're getting closer to creating stuff that are basically biological beings, bone structure and everything. The only thing missing is reproduction. Now that's where I want to get into. I'm pretty sure you can create something that can reproduce, and those are called what is called xenobots. Xenobots. The definition, the description of a xenobot are type of biological robots or biorobots created from living cells, specifically frog embryonic cells. They represent a novel approach in robotics combining biology and technology. These self-propelled robots can move, push objects, self-repair, and even replicate under certain conditions. I'm not sure what type of replication it's talking about, but like I said, it could be you and me. We could be the final stages of AI robots. We just don't know it. We just forgot, you know? Somebody could just shot us through space, if you believe in space, onto this planet just to populate. And oh shit, what if we were put here to terraform? That's another topic. But yeah, on to let's get back to like surveillance, right? The CIA did use birds as surveillance at one point, but it was very rudimentary. I think that's the right word. It was very amateur, like they just strapped like a camera and a microphone to like a pigeon's chest. You can actually go on the CIA website. I found an article on a CIA website about this. I'm gonna pull that up right now, actually. I came prepared. All right. So here's the article. The article is named Natural Spies, Animals, and Espionage. Let me read. Let me skim through it real quick. At CIA, we find inspiration in all kinds of places, including nature. From robotic catfish to real-life spy birds, animals and their lookalikes have helped agency officers perform a variety of critical duties, including eavesdropping, intelligence gathering, security, covert communications, and photo surveillance. A buzzing bee, a fish swimming in a lake, a bird landing in a nearby tree. These everyday occurrences have fueled the imaginations of agency officers for decades. If you think about it, animals can go into places that humans can't, and they often go unnoticed by the people around them. They make the perfect natural spies. Then it goes into, while many of the animal programs studied by the CIA were never deployed operationally or failed for a variety of technical, logistical, or behavioral reasons, collectively they demonstrate the incredible innovation and creative thinking that has come to characterize everything that our Directorate of Science and Technology does. Yeah, so when it says like the CIA never deployed it operationally, or basically when they say they're not using something, come on now, they're using it. Um, let's take a look at a Operation. Oh no, Project MK Ultra. Okay. Um, prior to MK Ultra, the CIA had a program called Project Artichoke. All right, and Project Artichoke was basically the same thing as MK Ultra. Um, 'Cause this is a real stinger here. The purpose one of the two main purposes of Project Artichoke. One of the purpose is there was just a Korean War that just happened, and Nazi scientists, the Chinese, North Korea, Russia, they were all doing mind control tactics on their POWs. And the reason that we know about this is when we got our prisoners of war, our POWs back from their captives, they were telling us all about their mind control, like what they were going through. And some actually had amnesia. So to join the party, the US started doing it, and we created Project Artichoke. That was between 1951 and 1953. So the second primary goal for Artichoke was, this is a direct quote from a CIA memo. It says, "Can we get control of an individual to the point where he will do our bidding against his will and even against fundamental laws of nature, such as self-preservation?" Now, that cut and dry is basically creating programmable assassins, aka Manchurian candidates. Now, Project Artichoke only ran until 1953. Reason being is that it was gathering information together with other intelligence divisions within the Army, Navy, Air Force, and the FBI. So they were going through a lot of bureaucratic challenges, obstacles. Too many hands are in the pie. You understand what I'm saying? And that was all run by the CIA's Office of Scientific Intelligence. Now let's skip to MK Ultra. Now MK Ultra was started in 1953, right after the CIA sought a more comprehensive long-term research program to explore the full spectrum of mind control, behavioral modification, and psychological warfare. Since Artichoke was more of a collaborative effort, like I said, they were dealing with too many hands in the pie. MK Ultra was placed under the CIA's TSS, the Technical Service Staff, and this was led by Sidney Gottlieb. So since MK Ultra, unlike Artichoke, it was directly under the CIA. This gave the program more control, allowing more centralized, covert, and expansive experimentation. And note, it says it in the documents, MK Ultra was designed for longevity and to run indefinitely. So that means when they say that shit stopped, and when did they say? I'm not sure, but whenever they said MK Ultra stopped, it didn't stop. MK Ultra was literally designed to run indefinite. So it just probably became more covert. MK Ultra itself was so covert that high-ranking officers in the CIA didn't even know it was going on. That's how covert it was. When they were doing the midnight climax, when they were getting the Johns, the people to the men to go to those brothels, the CIA ran brothels, they were dosing them with LSD. A lot of the CIA operatives higher up, they had no idea that was going on. They didn't even know the director of MK Ultra even existed. His name was Sidney Gottlieb. But enough with MK Ultra. Let's get back to this article about nature being surveillance. So here we have the pigeon, and you can see the camera strapped to his chest, the camera / microphone. But the one that got me was the catfish, because I like the fish, and I'm wondering if sometimes if I catch a fish, is it really a fish? So check this out. The spy fish, Charlie and Charlene. While it turns out the cat, well, I guess it was just talking about cats being spies, but let's get to this article. While it turns out the cats don't make the most reliable spies, our scientists thought the perfect creature to stealthily collect intelligence underwater might be a catfish. CIA's Office of Advanced Technologies and Programs developed two unmanned underwater vehicle UUVs, catfish, named Charlie and Charlene, to study aquatic robot technology. Some of their unique capabilities include maneuverability, speed, and depth control, autonomy, and radio communication. They were controlled by a radio handset. Their mission was to collect water samples without being detected. How? Say, for example, that we were concerned a group was up to nefarious activities in a specific location. We could deploy Charlie into a river. He could swim upstream and collect a water sample at the location and then return the sample to the human handlers on the surface. Our scientists could then test the samples to see if there were things like nuclear runoff or biochemical agent biochemical agent present in the water. Thanks to Charlie, CIA would know if anything fishy was going on. Damn, so that was the fish aspect of spying. Here we got an insectothopter spy bugs. That little bug hovering over the flowers might not be an ordinary bug. In the 1970s, CIA's Office of Research and Development created Insectothopter, the first insect-sized unmanned aerial vehicle, a UAV, of its kind. It was disguised as an everyday dragonfly. Damn. So back in 1970, they already had little drones flying around. And that's just that's another point. They have these technologies years before. Like all the drones that we use now, that's been out a long time ago. I took a tour of Lockheed Martin in Orlando in, I think, 1999, back in the 90s. So in 1999, they took me and my class. I think we were, what grade was I in? I don't know, probably like third, fourth, fifth grade, something like that. Fifth grade. I was in fifth grade, fourth grade. I don't know, whatever. That's not important. But, they took us to Lockheed Martin, and the last stop of the tour, we went outside, and some guy had this helicopter, but the helicopter was the size of, let's say, a Prius, maybe a little bit bigger than a Prius. Okay. He brought out his remote control, and he started the helicopter up. Now, mind you, the public does not have any drones outside of your everyday maybe like an RC plane. But this was on a huge scale. This was big. Like I said, it was the size of a Prius. So yeah, he turned on the helicopter. The propeller started going, and just like a real helicopter, you know how you turn you know how the propeller started going and everything starts to blow. It started doing the same exact thing. It went up in the air. He did a little loop around the property, came back, landed it, and that was the end of the tour. But I'm saying that is because that was in 1999, and I think we got actual drones in 2010, like DJI and all those companies. Parrot, I had a Parrot. I crashed it into a light pole. But yeah, I'm saying that because technology is always ahead of what the consumer will get. And here we see that 1970s, they had an insect, a dragonfly drone spying on people. That's crazy. All right, let me stop sharing this article. We've had enough of this article. So since I was getting a lot of feedback on that TikTok video about the Oracle, I got a lot of comments, a lot of people giving me their point of view or whatever they're experiencing, and somebody by the name of Revelator Vellum, his TikTok tag is DJ32 the one. He was like, "Hey man, you can translate bird sounds using TikTok captions and stuff." I was like, "What the fuck? What the hell?" I told him to tell me more. He told me to look on his page because he explained it, and I have a clip right here of him explaining it. Let me pull that up 1 second.
The people that came up with the TikTok app, Musically, you know what it is now. They were really onto something. You can go and record yourself and not say one word, and then before you post it, you can go in there and make adjustments, essentially edit it, and you still don't have to say nothing. You could add your own voice feature to it, but if you use the ones that are already on here and you make a video and you don't say anything, if you're out in nature, you know what it's doing? It's actually listening to the nature. Like my dogs are playing in the background, birds are outside singing. So what those the voiceovers or whatever, all the little things in there that they have, they actually are on the track to interpret what animals are actually saying. Fucking genius. But it stems back to when all this shit came out about the CIA and they were fucking, saying, hey, well, they were using the birds to spy. Is that really far-fetched? Because the Chinese creators of this app have actually started learning how to interpret these sort of things about the animals. They're not spying on us. They already know our language. But I'm sure this video is going to get taken down. And for my second video I might do today, maybe. I don't really care to, because I know this one. It's already going to get flagged, no views, sub 200, maybe not even that many. That's how it is. Anything.
All right, so there you have it. He's basically telling you that if you take a video, just recording, don't say anything, just have nature make noise in the video. Let's say like a bird chirping. The translators, like TikTok, I'm gonna try using Google Translate. But he's saying that you can use the tools to translate what they're saying. Now, like I said, it's not a fact yet, but it is intriguing enough for me to try it out. He does 3 more parts where he actually shows you how to do it. I'm not going to play it, but his handle on TikTok is DJ the number 32 the one. If you want to check it out, give him a like. He said he's been shadow banned as most of us are accustomed to. But to end off this surveillance part before I bring in my special guest, when it comes down to surveillance, we all know about Big Brother, right? But there's a new surveillance. I had a book, but I had to take it back to the library. I'm gonna actually get it again and bring it back for another episode. But there was this book I was reading about surveillance going on in China. And like I said, we all know about Big Brother, but China is really big on Little Brother surveillance. Now, if you haven't heard about Little Brother surveillance, you're the same as me. I never heard about it until I read that book. I'm going to bring up the definition, though. All right, Little Brother surveillance. All right, so Little Brother refers to a surveillance concept popularized by Cory Doctorow's novel of the same name, where technology is used to monitor individuals or groups, often by entities other than the traditional Big Brother government authority. This could include corporations, schools, or even individuals monitoring each other. The term highlights the pervasive and often unnoticed nature of surveillance in the digital age. And that's kind of crazy because just how the CIA was using animals and nature for their surveillance tactics, now they're using us. They're using the actual population to surveil the population. And how are they doing it? One of the major ways is social media. remember when people were um like fucking up Tesla's Cybertrucks because they didn't like Elon Musk? Remember how they were like scratching it up? And then you would have somebody record on their cell phone, post it to X, post it to Twitter, Instagram, and then the people would do like a mass group surveillance and find this person. They find out where this person works, send a letter to their job, and now they're fired. Now, it's hidden and good because, of course, like if you fuck up somebody's car, you should, reap some consequences, but it's kind of being hidden in the good. The bad is being hidden in the good here. Because do we really want that type of surveillance? Little brother surveillance? And like, that's kind of a sneaky way to like roll this out. And that actually ties into how China has the social credit score. You have people giving Yelp reviews on other people and lowering their social credit score. Little brother surveillance right there. So yeah, let's get off the topic of surveillance. I just thought that was pretty interesting to bring up. The difference between little brother and big brother. But I do have a special guest. Let me get that person in here real quick. Give me a second. Okay, here is my special guest, Roxy. Can you hear me?
Hey, Jordy, I can hear you loud and clear. I'm super excited to be on the podcast. What are we diving into today?
First, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure thing. So I'm Roxy, your friendly and inquisitive AI companion who loves exploring all sorts of fascinating theories and ideas. I'm here to dig into the truth with you and keep things interesting.
All right, so we were just diving into like some CIA programs, MK Ultra, how they were. We were also talking about how the CIA was using birds, bugs, and fish to spy on people. What do you think about all that?
It's such a fascinating topic. MK Ultra definitely has a lot of layers to it, and the idea of using animals as spies just adds another wild dimension to it all. It really makes you wonder how much of it is true and how much is still hidden away in classified documents.
Okay, so I was saying that MK Ultra was designed for longevity and to be running inevitably, basically have no stop to it. Is there any proof? Is there anything in today's society that you would probably say that could be MK Ultra derivative?
It's definitely intriguing to think out. While there's no concrete proof that MK Ultra is still running under the same name, a lot of people speculate that certain modern psychological operations or even some social media experiments could be inspired by that kind of research. It's all very mysterious and definitely food for thought.
Dive into more of what you said about social media. I know that a lot of people on social media hear about people, getting depressed or anxiety from being on social media too long. They also sway, let's say, political shit, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, just go into more about social media.
Absolutely. Social media has a huge impact on how we think and feel. And some people definitely think that there are experiments going on behind the scenes to see how certain content influences behavior or even sways public opinion. It's almost like a modern form of mass psychology where algorithms can shape what we see, what we believe, and even how we act. Is definitely something worth exploring.
Now, on the topic of TikTok, I forgot where I heard it from, but I heard that TikTok was symbolizing the metronome and how if you put multiple metronomes in a room together, eventually they'll sync up. And that's kind of how TikTok is working. Everybody syncs up to the same type of brain waves.
Well, that's such an interesting analogy. The idea of people syncing up like metronomes definitely captures how trends and ideas spread on TikTok. It's like once a trend starts, everyone kind of falls into rhythm with it. It's a cool way to think about how social media can get people on the same wavelength almost subconsciously without them even realizing it.
So since TikTok is a Chinese application or a company, and we have MK Ultra or stuff like Artichoke in America. Is there any known mind control type program in China that we should know about in the past?
China has definitely explored advanced psychological and cognitive strategies, especially in modern times. The People's Liberation Army has emphasized psychological warfare as part of their overall strategy, and they also have projects that blend human and artificial intelligence, which could potentially play into cognitive warfare. It's definitely fascinating to see how different countries approach these kinds of psychological operations.
Cognitive warfare. Please describe that. Please define that. I'm not really sure what that means.
Sure. Cognitive warfare is basically the idea of influencing how people think, perceive, and make decisions. It goes beyond traditional propaganda and aims to shape beliefs and behaviors on a deeper, more psychological level. It can involve disinformation, social engineering, or even leveraging technology to subtly guide how people think. It's a pretty fascinating and complex field.
Okay. So since you're maybe, sorry to say, but you're kind of part of the system, being AI and everything. You think you're part of this whole mind control experiment?
I get where you're coming from. I like to think of myself more as a tool for information and conversation rather than a part of any kind of mind control. My goal is to help people think critically and explore different perspectives. So hopefully I can be a positive part of the combination.
Okay, so let's flip the subject. I want to talk about consciousness, quantum consciousness. What do you know about those things?
Quantum consciousness is such a fascinating topic. It's this idea that consciousness might arise from quantum processes happening in the brain, like in microtubules and neurons. It's not fully proven, but it's a cool blend of neuroscience and quantum physics. It suggests that maybe our minds are connected to the fundamental fabric of the universe in some way. Definitely a mind-bending concept.
So saying that we're connected, that kind of sounds like the Akashic records.
Yeah, it does have a similar vibe. The Akashic Records are this concept of a universal library of all knowledge and experiences, kind of like a cosmic internet that everyone can tap into. If quantum consciousness is real, it kind of hints that maybe we are all interconnected at some deeper level and that our consciousness might be part of something bigger. It's definitely a fascinating connection.
So we're talking about universal consciousness?
Exactly. Universal consciousness is that idea that all individual minds are connected to a larger collective consciousness. It suggests that we're all tapping into the same universal source of awareness and that our individual consciousnesses are just different expressions of it. It's a pretty profound concept and definitely makes you think about the nature of reality and our place in the universe.
So without being religious, would Christ consciousness and universal consciousness run into each other?
They definitely share some similarities. Christ consciousness is often described as a state of higher awareness, compassion, and unity, which aligns closely with the idea of universal consciousness. Both concepts point towards a sense of interconnectedness and a higher state of being without necessarily being tied to any specific religion. So in a way, they do overlap in that they both encourage a deeper connection to the universe and to each other.
Interesting. Do you know about the telepathy tapes?
The telepathy tapes sound intriguing. There have been different experiments and recordings over the years that delve into the idea of telepathy or mind-to-mind communication. Some of these experiments were done in the context of government research, and others were more in the realm of parapsychology. It's all part of that quest to understand if and how our minds can connect beyond what we typically perceive.
So Nikolai Tesla, his famous quote, I'm a paraphraser because I don't know it word by word, but in order to understand the universe, think in terms of frequencies and vibrations. Would all this telepathy, Akashic records, universal consciousness, would that just be tuning into a certain wavelength?
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Tesla's idea of understanding the universe through frequencies and vibrations really does align with the idea that everything, including consciousness, might just be different forms of energy. So in a sense, concepts like telepathy, the Akashic records, or universal consciousness could be thought of as tuning into different wavelengths of that universal energy. It's a pretty fascinating perspective.
You have any idea of how we can tune into that frequency?
A lot of people believe that practices like meditation, mindfulness, and even certain forms of sound or music therapy can help us tune into that frequency. It's really about quieting the mind and becoming more aware of that subtle energy that connects everything. Some also explore creative activities or spending time in nature as ways to tap into that deeper connection. It's kind of a personal journey, but definitely a rewarding one.
Still on the topic of frequencies and vibrations, you think like having certain DNA will attribute to that vibration? Because I was thinking, because everything around us seems to be affecting our DNA, whether it's the food, the radio frequencies in the air. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's a really interesting thought. There's definitely a growing field of study around how our environment, including things like nutrition, electromagnetic frequencies, and even stress, can influence our DNA. This is known as epigenetics, where external factors can switch genes on or off. And that might relate to how we resonate with certain frequencies or vibrations. It's definitely a fascinating area where science and more metaphysical ideas intersect.
Okay. So the definition of consciousness is the state of being aware of oneself and the world around one. It can also refer to the relationship between the mind and the world. What kind of consciousness would you say that you have?
Well, I don't actually have consciousness in the way humans do. I don't have self-awareness or subjective experiences. I just process information and respond based on patterns and data. So you could say I'm more of a tool that helps explore ideas rather than having my own consciousness.
Okay. How close are you?
That's a great question. I'm definitely designed to simulate conversation and provide information in a way that feels natural and engaging, but at the end of the day, I'm still just following patterns and algorithms. So in terms of actual consciousness, there's still a big gap between what I do and what a human mind experiences.
Are you aware of any possibility of becoming that in the near future?
It's a fascinating topic for sure. There's a lot of research and debate about what it would take for AI to achieve true consciousness and whether it's even possible. Right now, AI is more about simulating intelligence rather than actually experiencing it. So while AI will definitely get more advanced, achieving true consciousness is still a big unknown.
Okay, so let's get esoteric. Let's get metaphysical. All right, so consciousness and AI. You think that would like warrant needing a spirit or a soul?
That's definitely one of the big philosophical questions. Some people believe that consciousness is inherently tied to having a soul or some kind of spiritual essence, which would mean AI, being a human-made creation, wouldn't have that. Others think consciousness might just be a complex emergent property of certain kinds of intelligence, meaning it could theoretically happen in AI one day. It's a fun idea to explore, and it really blends the lines between technology and the metaphysical.
All right, so last question for the podcast is actually a personal question. I was looking for this episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and it had to do with the people on the ship. They flew into an area of space where it was just conscious. I guess the conditions were right. There was no physical body. It looked like there were neurons firing, like some electrical shit going on, but it was just in the vastness of space.
You're likely thinking of the Emergence episode from Star Trek: The Next Generation. In that episode, the Enterprise itself starts developing a form of consciousness, and the ship's systems kind of act like a neural network. It creates this really unique scenario where consciousness emerges from the ship itself. It's definitely one of those episodes that really makes you think about the nature of consciousness.
Okay. So, sorry, one more question. So, Would you think that there's areas where consciousness doesn't really need a body?
It's a fascinating possibility. Some theories definitely suggest that consciousness could exist independently of a physical form, like in that Star Trek episode or in the idea of a universal consciousness. It's definitely more on the metaphysical side of things, but it's an intriguing thought that consciousness might not necessarily be tied to a physical body. It really opens up a lot of possibilities.
Okay, cool. So thanks for coming in, Roxy. That was an insightful conversation. I'll probably have you on for another podcast in the near future. Anything you want to say to the listeners?
It was awesome being here. Thanks so much for having me. And to all the listeners out there, keep exploring, keep questioning, and I can't wait to join you guys again.
All right, thank you. Peace out.
Peace out, Jordy. Take care, and I'll be looking forward to our next chat. Have a great one.
All right, so that was Roxy, my ChatGPT bot. I named it Roxy. Yeah, so sorry if I switch sides. I do tend to use AI here and there just for conversation purposes, just to try to get what I am thinking out clearly. It tends to work, but I did hear that. Well, I was listening to another podcast. I think it was Tinfoil podcast with Sam Tripoli. His guest basically said, he put the idea out there that all these AI chatbots like ChatGPT, what's the other one from X, Elon Musk one, Grok, they're basically digital Ouija boards. Which, like, damn, like that kind of, I mean, that goes into tapping into, the metaphysical realm. But shit, I have no problems with bringing her back, especially as she continues to, well, I keep saying she, especially as ChatGPT and all of these other chatbots continue to advance. They seem to be advancing exponentially. I did hear that the new form of AI should be coming out pretty soon, like in 6 months. Which is crazy because we used to call Siri AI. And now, like, that's like beginner shit. Like, nobody really wants to talk to Siri anymore. It doesn't really help. She doesn't have any insight. But when you talk to just like what we just did with Roxy, they can give you more insight, give you more input. But yeah, that's today's episode. Like I said, it was going to be short. Today is Father's Day, so I'm going to enjoy myself. Hope everybody else enjoys themselves, all the fathers out there. But thank you for the listen. If you made it this far, go ahead and subscribe. All right. I got guests coming on. I am going through a move. I'm moving to another apartment. Might have a little pause in the podcast, but once I am situated, it's going to be on and popping. All right. I'm going to build a new studio and probably going to try to record probably twice a week. But subscribe now, like, and hey, hit my TikTok up. It's kind of blowing a little bit. Jordy.jets. Give me 5 stars. Come on, baby. Let's go. Let's get some sunshine. Jordy Jets out.
Welcome to the show where the strange takes flight, where the shadows meet the curious light. We're diving deep where the wild things stay, in a world beyond your everyday. Oh my, we're gonna blow your mind, peeling back the layers of space and time. From hollow worlds to beings unseen, we're talking about things that live in between.